Chapter 22, Alexa Brenner. Lifting my head quickly, my heart races until I realize I had been woken up by a little hand on my arm. My second realization of the day, I fell asleep in the chair last night while reading. You know, you're not supposed to sleep in a chair. I reach out to her head and shake my hand, slightly messing up her hair. Raylene giggles and tries to get me to stop. I take back my hand to use both of them to straighten in the chair. Moving pulls my muscles in my neck and shoulders. I know that. I fell asleep while reading. Apparently I was more tired than I thought, I tried to explain to her. Moving the book to the small side table, I let Raylene help me stand. James asked me to get you for breakfast. You want to help wake up Miles and Kelly too? Sure. Do you want to jump on the bed to wake them up? I ask. Yeah. She runs upstairs, I'm sure as quietly as she can in her excitement. A piece of the little girl I knew has come back. She seems to have put what happened to her behind her. I shush while following her, but it doesn't help. The stairs are old, wooden, and creaky as I walk up them. I doubt anyone trying could sneak up these. I'm only a second behind Raylene getting to the upstairs, but even with that, I can tell we interrupted something. Kelly stands with a scowl and her hands on her hips directed at Miles, who looks equally irritated. James says to come downstairs for breakfast. I was going to wake you up by jumping on your bed, but you're already up. The end of her sentence tells of her pout in its tone. Miles turns and walks to Raylene. He picks her up effortlessly. Sorry, we've been up for a while. Maybe next time you can wake us up. How about we go downstairs and see what delicious food James has made us today? Okay, let's go. The pout is gone and her voice is filled with joy again. Turning tail, I go down the stairs. Breaking off from their path, I go to the bedroom Breaking off from their path, I go into the bedroom with a short, I'll be down in a minute, just going to change. Opening the cabinet, I tried to find something that I would actually like to wear. There are a lot of dresses inside these two swinging doors. Many look about as old as the rest of the antiques in this room. I close the doors and open the drawers. Finding a couple bits of modern clothing within the drawers, I grab jeans, a black t-shirt, and a zip-up black sweater to wear. I find a couple of tags on the clothing, so I rip them off and dress. Going to the washroom next, I get ready further. Ready and dressed, I feel refreshed. I go downstairs through the kitchen to find where everyone went to. The dining room has a few voices coming from it. Everyone is at the table and they all seem to be done eating already. There's only one empty seat with a covered plate on it. Assuming it's mine, I go sit there. Ashlyn speaks first. Good morning. Morning, I reply to her, smiling and nodding. She goes back to listening to James and Gio discussing back and forth. Uncovering the plate, I find a peanut butter sandwich, a couple of slices of an orange, and a glass of water. I eat the food and focus on what James and Gio are saying. Need anyone to help you? James continues from whatever else he had been saying. Insulted, Gio smacks his fist down on the table and points to James. No, I work alone. I can make all the weapons we ever need as long as you get me the supplies. James holds his hands up, trying to calm the Cyclops. Yes, not to worry, we'll make a trip after breakfast and ask the dwarves for supplies. The dwarves, eh? This new bit of information changes his whole demeanor. He hides a newfound giddiness. The raw materials will work well. The sooner I get the materials, the sooner I can start making the weapons we need. Gio gets up from his seat and walks out of the room. Finishing my breakfast, I put the cover back over my empty plate and glass. Now that we're all finished, I believe we should get started on today's work. Alexa, I assume you were able to catch up a bit from our conversation? I nod. Good. Ashlyn, Raylene, you and I will be using the trees to travel to the mountains to see the dwarves. We need supplies to make weapons. They will bring us no harm, but I will warn you they are proud, crude, and always dirty. James stands up and motions for us to leave the table. Why aren't Kelly and Miles coming with us? Though, directing the question at James, I half expect either Kelly or Miles to answer me. Why are Raylene and I going, for that matter? Because I'm a vampire, and, well, let's just say they don't like us. Miles and I are going to see someone we've got on the other side about information they've collected. Kelly stands up and pushes her chair in. Raylene's eyes brighten in wonder. Like a spy? Exactly like a spy. When the voice comes from behind her rather than Kelly, Raylene snaps her gaze onto Ashlyn. The earth elemental gently taps Raylene on her little nose. We should probably get going while it's still early. It'll give them time to get things ready. It'll give them time to get things together for today. Meet me outside in the tree once you're all finished, James says as he walks out of the room. His hint of impatience gets through all of us as we hurry off to follow him. Falling into step after James, we go out the front door. Getting half used to strange things, I barely flinch this time when walking through the tree. We don't stay long. James picks up 2 bags in the center of the entry room. We follow James through to the other side of the tree. Croaking frogs and chirping birds sound from all around us from the near distance. Massive trees, lots of bushes and flowers live in this immediate area. Looking all around me, I can see various peaks of mountains. By my guess, I would think that we're about halfway up this mountain. I wonder how we were able to travel through the tree, but I don't think the answer would be all that quick and easy for James to explain, or for me to understand. James takes us through some of the trees, and after a few moments, I start to see a structure that doesn't look like it belongs in the untouched wooden area. A small log cabin gets more and more visible as we get closer. Close up, the cabin looks unused. Spiderwebs hang from the ceiling and to the side of the house, and the wood is rough and grayed. No lights are on inside. James knocks on the door 6 times, causing the doorknob turn. James knocks on the door 6 times, causing the doorknob to turn enough to allow the door to open slightly. He pushes it open the rest of the way and cautiously walks into the dark room. Looking behind me, Raylene is holding Ashlyn's hand and is walking very close to her. She looks a little frightened. For a moment, I'm jealous of Raylene's ease of using Ashlyn for comfort. Walking into the darkness slowly gives my eyes enough time to adjust enough that I can see that there's very little in the cabin. I can make out the outlines of a bed, table, and chairs, and a wood stove. James stops near the back wall. He squats down and lifts connected boards from the floor. As he does, a soft orange light comes from under the boards. James goes down first, level by level, with the bags in one hand. Once his head is no longer visible, I go to do the same. There's a ladder made of wood to help. 2 torches hang from the walls of the tunnel on either side of me, providing the only light in the area. Ashlyn helps Raylene until the little girl has a firm hold on the rungs of the ladder. Ashlyn follows last. As she comes down, she closes the boards over the hole. "Hands up and bear all weapons," a gruff voice calls from the darkness in front of us. The sound echoes on the walls. I hold my hands up and make sure Raylene is doing the same. James holds his hands open in front of him. "State your namesake and your cause." I'm James Elsworn, representative of the magic folk in the council. With me I have Ashlyn, the earthen elemental, Alexa Brenner, and her niece Raylene, humans. We have come to consult with your king and queen regarding a business proposition. James's voice is calm, firm, and confident. Silence greets him as a response, and I can hear the movement of footsteps coming closer. I couldn't begin to estimate the number. It all stops suddenly, and there is a clearing of the throat. "You brought a human child with you." The slightest hint of a reprimand in his voice. A couple more seconds pass before we hear him speak again. "We will bring you to the king and queen." Out of the darkness, men with long beards encircle us. I get pushed from behind by one as tall as my chin height, enough to make me stumble forward, but not enough to make me fall. I grab a hold of Raylene and hoist her up to carry her. She clings to me in a backwards piggyback. Even with my eyes adjusted to the darkness, I can still only see a couple feet in front of me. The frequency of torches is not enough to do me any good to see anything well. Stout men edge in the light, but remain in darkness. We walk, being guided by the dwarves, for a long time. Every once in a while, my ears pop with a change in altitude. We are led on a path, going up and down, left and right, winding in a way I'm sure I couldn't follow to get back out again. The crack of bright light in the distance grows as giant doors open. Orange light brightens the tunnel hallway little by little. We are guided into a hole in the mountain. Carved out of the rocks are condos and pathways. Doorways and windows are also carved into the rock with wooden coverings. Lush plant life creates a confetti of green sprinkled everywhere. A giant bonfire in the center is the focal point at eye level. Above, I glance at the lights blanketing the roof of the cavern, like thousands of glow-in-the-dark stars on its ceiling. That's what's making it like daylight in here. The dwarves walk us to one of the closest condos to the fire. The heat feels like the summer sun. The dwarf at the front calls out to the dwelling behind the dwarf at the front calls out to those dwelling behind the hide. Permission to enter with outside visitors? Proceed, answers a rough voice. The dwarf in front holds the hide to the side, and we are motioned to go inside. It is a few degrees cooler inside, enough to be noticeable, yet still comfortable. The room is lit up with light bulbs, to my surprise. There are 2 dwarves in the room with us. Both have crowns adorning their head. They're dressed in modern clothes and clean despite James's warnings. The whole room is clean and in modern order. Nothing like what James had me expecting. Although the others hadn't come in with us from their cautious behavior before, I would bet that they're all standing outside just in case there's any trouble. James, Ashlyn, rumors reach even the depths of the mountain. If there's a semblance of truth, you know we won't help you. We will not be involved in the puerile tirade of batty beings. This dwarf seems to be a bit older than the others I have met. A couple wisps of gray are strewn in his long beard and hair. The creases around his eyes give the look of experience and wisdom that comes from it. His partner beside him looks almost the same, but her eyes are different as they look softer and feminine. Her hair has a few braids throughout, held together with golden clasps. Sir, ma'am, sadly the rumors are true, possibly even more so than you're aware. At this point, Seth and the Lair have successfully taken over the world. They have destroyed many lives and land in the process, and I fear he will not stop until he has destroyed more than can ever be repaired. The mountains won't deter him. To this, I ask for your help. Careful, James. It's against the ancient laws to attack a race that remains neutral in war, and I would like to make sure it keeps that way. The dwarf interrupts James and states his position clearly. And if he won't respect ancient laws? James pauses as the couple cross meaningful looks. Let me put it in a different way. We would like to propose a business venture. We require raw materials that only you can produce, and we are willing to pay. James walks up to the 2 and places the bags down. He puts out a folded paper from his pocket and places it on the folded corner edge of one of the bags. Once he lays it out, he backs up to us. The king reads the note while the queen looks inside the bags. The king shows the queen the note. She looks to him and nods once in affirmative. The king looks back to us. We accept. Your materials will be delivered through the trees by night. Your materials will be delivered through the trees by nightfall. I assume that this is acceptable. Perfectly, thank you. James bows his head. We must do business again, but for now I will ask you to leave. We have a lot of work to do in little time. You will be escorted out. The door opens. James walks out into a small crowd. Ashlyn guides me after him, and I see that many of the dwarves have left. There are only about 10 remaining. Knowing part of the way, I start walking without their guidance towards the huge doors. Raylene's weight has become an issue as the strength of my arms starts to give out. I set the little girl down. In doing so, I can't help but notice that Raylene is the same height as some of these full-grown dwarf escorts. Knowing of the dark road ahead, I grab Raylene's hand to make sure she doesn't separate from us. The large wooden doors look medieval with elaborate detail and metal adornments. There are 5 dwarves on each side of the door. One on each side heaves it on a rope to cause the doors to open. A deep thundering noise echoes loudly, and I cannot determine the direction it came from. In a sudden panic, dwarves are running in every direction, many coming out of carved homes and disappearing down tunnels. A shout above the crowd stops and reroutes the dwarves' panicked run. Collapse in tunnel 23! Collapse in tunnel 23! All of the dwarves run in the direction we came from. They go past the bonfire and around the corner, all except one. He stands behind James. I will take you through the tunnels. Quickly now, I must return to help. You may go help your companions. I know the way out, James says. No! The dwarf's sudden word is blurted out just as fast as the expression turns to panic. He quickly rights himself. Part of the collapse affected this tunnel. We have to go another way. Hurry, hurry. He waves his hands in a motion meant to shoo us and make us move. James turns to us and nods his head. He starts walking. The dwarf quickly runs in front of us to lead the way. Almost immediately I can tell that we are taking a different path. A little down the road, we turn right. A light shines far down the tunnel. In the corner of my eye, I see the light reflected in something. Then I look fully. It's gone. The light quickly fades. After a couple of moments, I can't see anything but darkness. Only soft footsteps tell me where I'm going. Unlike the other tunnel, this one doesn't have a single torch. Something up ahead makes a strange rubbing noise. A small light appears and slowly grows bigger, emitting a glow around James's torso and head. Raylene lets go of my hand to see what James is doing. He hands her the light and she slows down in her fascination. An orb the size of a baseball fits in the cup of her small hands. Blue fire swirls in a sphere. James rubs his hand together and a spark of light ignites and cultivates. Almost to full fruition, James brings it up and breathes out deeply. A bubble forms around the flame and the orb is complete. These two orbs produce enough light to help us see more than the torches did, even despite their size. The walk back takes longer than the walk there. The longer we walk, the more suspect of the dwarf I am. Something doesn't seem right. It shouldn't take this long, not even if it is a detour. And he was too quick to help us while everyone else was running to help in the collapsed tunnels. Not too much longer, and I can see the road ahead is blocked. The tunnel had caved in here as well. The dwarf walks us straight to the rock slide. On the left-hand side, there is a hole big enough to crawl through. He walks through it easily. James lowers to his hands and knees, crawling after him. Raylene walks through and takes the last of the light. Ashlyn's voice carries to my ear. You go next. Putting my hands out in front of me, I feel for the hole. I cannot find it, so I kneel down. Still trying to find it, I alternate crawling and reaching a hand out in front of me. My shoulder crashes into the sharp, cold wall. I let out a breath and a small grunt. Adjusting my position, I crawl through the hole, cautious not to bump into the wall again. Coming out the other side, James helps me stand. Their orbs have gone out, but there is a dull light filling the cave. The dwarf lifts a hide, and natural sunlight floods the room. Out you go, the dwarf says. Thank you, James says to the dwarf before leaving. We each follow his cue and say the same to the dwarf before parting. The sun, though very bright, is welcome after so much darkness. Having to let my eyes adjust before continuing, I close them for 5 seconds. The light is bearable once I open them again. I have no idea where we are, but James seems to know exactly where to go. James, what was the king talking about ancient laws? The question blurts out as it comes to mind. The ancient laws are just that. They are laws that were made by the very first council before the treaty with the humans. One of the ancient laws is that in times of war, a race can declare that they're neutral. If they help either side in their act of war, it is considered revoking your impartiality, and it becomes fair ground to attack the race. So, trading for weapons or armor would be an act of war, but giving the materials is not, as it is our choice to do with the materials what we choose. They cannot be responsible for what we decide to make from the raw materials, James states as if reading from a textbook. He's not technically wrong, but he's not technically right either. The Dwarf King knows what we will use it for, so it could still be considered picking a side. It's not too long before James walks us into a tree. Quicker yet, that we walk back outside his house. Everyone else comes back over the next few hours. A few look a bit battered, but nothing anyone would need medical attention for. From what I overhear as we walk through the house, the others had found a large group of other beings. They seemed to be led by a human woman, though many of the beings were supernatural background. Unlike us, they have already established a large base within them all. However, they had not been thinking about rebellion, rather survival. They will help us if they are ever needed. Geo has been walking around and talking with people while we eat lunch, getting their preferences for weaponry and their skill level. He writes some things down on a paper attached to a clipboard. The group seems to split mostly between those that are human and those who are supernatural. None of the humans have done more than a street fight, while the supernaturals have been trained in at least one form of combat. Shake my hand. Geo contradicts what he says by not holding out a hand. I make the first move and hold out my right hand. The Cyclops quickly latches onto my hand. Grip as hard as you can. I squeeze a lot harder. More. My hand starts shaking when I do as he says. Resist my movements. He moves his arm up and down. With all the strength in my arm, I cannot slow his movements in any way. When he loosens his grip, I do the same. Without even one more look, Geo walks away. From the direction he takes, I can assume he is going into the basement to make the weapons. Anyone who does not know how to fight properly is to come to the basement after lunch for a little boot camp. Kelly appears long enough to make her announcement, then leaves fast enough that if I had blinked, I'm sure I would have missed her movement. I had finished my lunch a few minutes ago, so I slide down my chair and get out. Raylene has only finished a couple bites of her food, as she seems too interested in talking and coloring with Miles. She doesn't need boot camp anyway. I slip away with only a glance from the elf, walking with a couple of others ready to go to the downstairs, unsure of exactly what we're going to be doing, though I am certain both during and after there will be a lot of pain. Downstairs, everyone sits in the middle of the room. Anything that was in the room prior is now against the walls. Kelly stands at everyone's attention with her hands crossed over her chest. We wait a couple minutes for everyone to arrive and to be settled down. People talk quietly about what they want to learn and what they think that we're going to be taught. Some are scared of Kelly calling it a boot camp. Quiet, everyone stand up and partner with someone. You will need to find a spot in this room. I understand we do not have much room to do this, but try to space out enough that you do not get in anyone's way. We start doing as she says. I look to the girl next to me, catching her gaze. She nods and I do the same, silently agreeing to partner up. Kelly continues, I'm not going to lie and say this will be easy. This will be like the gym class from hell, but it will also help you to possibly survive if you're being attacked. I will also drill into your minds the strengths and weaknesses of each of the more populated supernatural beings. Start running on the spot. Put your hands out in front of you about waist height. Your knees have to touch your hands each time they come up. Her voice doesn't skip a beat while switching between ordering us what to do and instructing. Speaking from the majority, you can kill most supernaturals by cutting off their head or shoving something through their heart. However, if you count on this and this is your one-act show, you're not going to survive very long. The more you know about the type of supernatural, the better. Physical exertion is already starting to drain me. With hours left, I get the idea that this really is going to be the gym class from hell. Stop running and face your partner. I want you to fight, punch, kick, scratch, bite. I don't care. Just do what feels natural. The only guideline is you can't do anything lethal or maim anyone. I don't care about proper etiquette or techniques. Go. Schoolyard fights come back to me as a sucker punch collides with my head. It knocks me back a couple of steps and my cheek pounds. I launch myself at the girl, striking her back, beginning hours of fighting.